Okay, so we are live. It is 12:42 a.m. Early Sunday morning, 8/11/2024, and we're going to go through some of the true crime cases of the week this week. I hope everybody's having a good Saturday night, early Sunday morning. I'm going to try to play an intro, and I'll be right back. Hey, Heather, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Dean, what's up, buddy? Yes. There we go. Sorry, I played the wrong intro. The first one was I don't know what that was. Just sorry about that. All right, so Heather Brown is here. Hello, Heather Brown. Big Fish is here. Hey, Big Fish, what's going on? Dean Johnson is always here. Hey, Dean. Miranda Lee, good to see you. Um, let's see. I think that's it for now. First thing I want to do is give a shout out to Southern Gal. I saw her live tonight. Glad she's back. She's back. She did a great live tonight about the missing. Good to see her back. Um, you went to the fair rodeo for birthday. Good for you. Happy birthday. I'm not even going to ask how old you are now. Um, Dope jams. Well, see it's so funny because I'm still having all these freaking computer problems, and I ordered some parts for my broken one. Um, Spent all day, well, not all day, but most of the day, trying to get it going, but it's dead. It's completely gone. It's not coming back. It'll probably cost me too much to fix it. I think it's the motherboard or whatever. But anyways, good to see everybody. Happy birthday again to Heather Brown. I wish I had a cake, but I don't. So, all right, let's get rid of my face, and then well, it's not till Monday. You went, oh, you went to see Poison. They're still alive. That's amazing. All right, so so anyways, we're gonna go. What are we gonna do first? Let's do. Hold on a second. Let's do Riley Strain. Uh, All right, let's do Riley Strain first. And then we'll move on to something else. Let me play this here. This was done 2 days ago. All right, let's play this here, and then we'll move on to something else. Good to see everybody. They're still kicking. Huh. I don't think I've ever seen Poison. I might have. I could have. So anyways, they did his autopsy, and he had about, I don't know, enough alcohol in him to pretty much unalive a horse. So 12 to 15 drinks. I think his blood alcohol content was like a 0.228 or something like that. That's a lot. Unfortunately, that's just too much. 2 vodka shots and 3 beers on the bus to Nashville. So he was pretty lit. But let's check this out.
The SMB4 investigates. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Cornett.
And I'm Marius Payton.
I'm Lauren Lowry. We now know police estimate the University of Missouri student had potentially 15 alcoholic drinks before he fell into the Cumberland River in Nashville and drowned.
Let's go to our chief investigative reporter, Jeremy Finley. Jeremy,
he looked bad. From the video I saw from him walking down the street, he looked pretty intoxicated, but that's just me.
Covered even the bus driver for the fraternity event didn't want drinking of alcohol on the way to Nashville.
Well, that's right. WSMB4 Investigates has obtained internal police files of the investigation into Strain's death, and we shared them with a national expert on fraternities who says Strain's fraternity should be held responsible.
First of all, I didn't know they had a thing on fraternities. That's news to me. I didn't know they had a.
On the night he died, Riley Strain seems at first in control. There he is in the black and light brown shirt, standing, being served a Jack and Coke. Hours later, though, he would end up dead in the Cumberland River with a blood alcohol level of 0.228.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations to your daughter. Junior year. That's awesome. Good for you, Miranda. Good for her. That's excellent.
But investigators with the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission later determined he hadn't been overserved that night at the bars. So what happened? What investigators ultimately determined stunned David Eastlick, an attorney who ran a national fraternity for 29 years and now sues fraternities after students' deaths.
I was amazed to find out that he, was basically an amazing amount of alcohol.
To understand the level of intoxication was drinking, and that Strain consumed 3 IPAs and 2 vodka shots. Here's why the percentage of alcohol is important.
Hey, Necessary Evil's here. Hey, buddy. What's going on, man? Hope you're all right. Last I heard, you were good from the storm down there. We probably got it worse up here than you did. It was pretty wet for a couple of days up here, for sure. Some of the sound isn't working. All right. How about my sound? 1 or 2. Fraternities and sororities need to educate students on the effects of alcohol. Yeah, absolutely. I still think he might have been roofied or something like that, though, because I've been drunk before. So let me know how the sound is. I'll try to fix it.
When it comes to the fraternity's own rules.
I want to talk a little bit about alcohol.
Delta Chi's national chapter's website shows on a risk management video that no alcohol above 15% can be served at fraternity events unless by a licensed third party.
If a chapter doesn't comply with these, they will be placed on a corrective action or probation status.
Thank you, Miranda. It's not like I'm following people or stalking people. I just, I mean, who else is going to kick Dean out of here, right? Just kidding.
There is no mention of who else was or wasn't drinking, or if a licensed third party was serving vodka on the bus.
Obviously, a vodka shot has way more alcohol than 15%.
This is basically a totally out of control party situation.
Police estimate Strain consumed between 12 to 15 alcoholic drinks before he died. It's unclear, besides the bus, where else fraternity
Yeah, see, he was pretty lit when he got to the bar, I think.
members say Strain drank before heading to the bars.
Riley was 22 years old, a grown man by all standards. Nobody wanted this to happen to this young man. But how much personal responsibility is here versus how much responsibility the fraternity has?
It's the lifestyle.
No, I don't think he was. I don't think he was 21. No, maybe he was. I may be mistaking him for the Idaho 4 case. You're my stalker. I'm your stalker. It seems like I've been following you around. Yeah, he was 22. I knew he was of age.
Of the Greek world, and I'm sure he has some personal responsibility because he shouldn't have been doing it because he was 22.
Investigators' notes show by 8:40 that night, Strain begins to stumble repeatedly. After an argument with staff,
I've been downstairs like this before, hammered. My big problem was coming upstairs like this here, but I've tripped downstairs like this before, for sure.
he's escorted out at 9:38. According to investigators' notes, fraternity members continue on with the party. A fraternity brother told police he reached Strain by phone at 9:47, saying Strain was speaking with a slurred speech.
I mean, he looked pretty stout for his age. I mean, he's fairly tall. He might be a little thin, but I mean, he's, average weight for his size. I think he looked like he's in pretty good physical shape. He was just either hammered or, I mean, I don't know if he's ever, a lot has to do with, I don't know if he's drank that much before or not, or, but he looks pretty hammered walking down this street here.
And as Strain indicated, he was on his way back to the hotel. Fraternity brothers wouldn't call police to report him missing until 12 hours after they discovered he'd never come back.
I think this was Tennessee, Nashville, I think.
To the hotel. We took the police findings both to the national chapter of Delta Chi and the University
It's always good to have everybody here. I appreciate everybody for coming in. You guys are awesome.
of Missouri. Delta Chi would not agree to an interview, only referencing their prior online statement about the sadness of Strain's death. A Mizzou spokesperson said this was a private fraternity event and confirmed Delta Chi has no outstanding student conduct.
I mean, I just feel bad, for the families. Hey, Fark, how are you? I hope I'm saying that freaking right. I'm just going to call you Far for now on because just in case I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Violations.
For the school to sit there and say they're in good standing, I mean, my God, that's morally offensive. I mean, after what happened to this kid,
A lot of parents are going to see this story.
I mean, he is, let's watch this again because he is literally, I mean, I don't even think he knows where he is at this point.
that's morally offensive. I mean, after what happened to this kid,
A lot of parents are going to see this story. A lot of parents.
It's strange how nobody noticed, right? Like, there's so many people walking by this kid and nobody. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, FAR is good. It's basically short for FARQ. Like, what was that movie there? I think that was the first. What the hell was Shrek? The Shrek movie.
So college students will see this story. What do we learn from this?
You know, all this stuff for parents about how they have risk management. They condemn alcohol abuse. They condemn this. They condemn that. It's baloney.
Jeremy, seeing that video is still disturbing even to this day. So I got to ask you, if Riley had that much to drink even before.
The thing is, you know how many people I know. It's just sad. Yeah, Q sounds good. Lord Farquaad. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Shrek is like the first, especially the first one. That's like one of my favorite movies of all time. What was I just saying? There's millions of campuses, millions of kids. I mean, God. If you go to college and not drink, you're probably just, that's what colleges are for, right? I mean, how many people do this and nothing ever happens? But it's not a good mix, that's for sure. But I don't know how you're going to stop it. It's just like I said. I just feel bad for the parents. It's got to suck.
Before he entered the bars, should he have even been served at all?
Well, Marius, I asked that same question to TABC investigators. They say all they can monitor is how someone is acting at the time they are served alcohol. And they say in reviewing the video, Strain did not appear too intoxicated.
Yeah, I know the toxicology came back kind of negative for anything. I think the same kind of thing happened to that other guy down there. What the hell was his name? They just found his body too. Shit, now I'm drawing a blank. What the hell is his name? They just found him not too long ago. I think the same kind of thing happened to him.
Intoxicated when he was served. Now, the Strain family says they have a lawyer looking over police and findings. Also, we have requested all of the audio interviews, and we just got them this afternoon. We're listening to all of them. Once we get all of that details, we will be able to share with you what we have learned. Marius.
Jeremy Finley, thank you so much. We have.
All right, so that's. I don't want to play that. Let's. So yeah, that kind of just sucks. Caleb Harris, thank you, Miranda. I just had a brain freeze there. But we'll find out what happened to Caleb Harris fairly shortly, I think. But I think it's going to be kind of the same situation. All right, so let's. I do want to go. I'm pretty sure it happens a lot more than people think it does. All right, so I want to go here to this because I saw a little of this the other day. This is the parents again on
to death inside their off-campus residence. The brutal crime.
This is the Idaho 4 case, and this is the parents talking to Court TV, the victim's parents of Kaylee Gonzalez. If anybody hasn't been watching this case, this is the case of the 4 college kids that were unalived by suspect Brian Koberger. He's charged with the murders, and they did an interview with Vinnie Politano, I think. So let's check this out.
The community and touched the nation, setting off an intense manhunt for a killer. Investigators from the Moscow police joined forces with the Idaho State Police and the FBI, following every lead, every tip, and every piece of evidence.
So I've been kind of channel surfing here the last few days, and I know I've been watching a little bit of Cryptex. Cryptex is awesome. Unfortunately, he was speaking today in Spanish, so I couldn't understand a freaking word he was saying. But he's good. And Curious Contrarian, I've been watching him. He's awesome. He actually gave me a wrench. And of course, Southern Gal's back. Southern Gal's amazing. I try to shout out all the channels that I think are pretty good. There's another one too. She does, or whoever it is, does music and crime. And I think she changed her name to, I'll get it in a couple minutes. Other things, I know this other creator, his name's Farmer. And I'd love it if you guys go over and support his channel because he's not doing all that great. He's a great guy. I've been watching him for, well, I've been not watching him, but he's been around for a long time. He used to be on Sleuth's channel, and I think he was on a couple other channels too. But he's got his own channel, and I just wanted to give Farmer a shout out because he's a really good guy, just dealing with a lot of shit right now. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. I kind of donated the other day to his PayPal thing because he's not doing good financially. But I hope he doesn't mind me shouting him out. But he's a good guy. Farmer's a good guy. He was on Cryptex. I think it was last week. They were going over the Delphi shit. But he's good. Just, everybody has, times in their life that they're not doing all that great. So I just wanted to shout him out.
That investigation took them across the country to Pennsylvania and led them to this man, a grad student at a neighboring university in Pullman, Washington. This accused mass killer has denied the allegations and claims to have an alibi. In our investigation,
Yeah, I've been following Farmer. I mean, Farmer and I have been on different chats. Like I said, I don't. Rick Snay too. He just needs. Rick just needs to take a break. Settle back into things. The Delphi case, man. Thank you, Miranda. Thank you very much. Farmer's awesome. The Delphi case will literally drive you insane. It's that's why I don't cover it a lot because it's especially right now because it's just back and forth with just nonsense, really. I'm just hopefully there'll be a trial here and we'll but what was I saying? Farmer's a good guy. Farmer's great. Just a good guy. Steve likes him too. Mr. Steve likes him too.
return to the scene of the crime. What does it look like now? We'll retrace the alleged route of the killer. How were investigators able to track?
I mean, I love those girls. They'll always be in the back of my mind. Them, the Evansdale case, all the cases, Floor 4. They're all very dear to me. It's just, at some point you just have to wait for the trial. We're never gonna. Yeah, it's always been like that. Delphi is, Gray Hughes said it. As far as I'm concerned, the best. Once you start talking Delphi, all the crazies come out. That's the way it is. I understand, the fervor and the excitement and all of that stuff, but we're never going to know until there's a trial. 12 people are probably going to judge what goes on in that case, and right now there's really nothing to cover. It is what it is. It's just all, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But, hopefully there'll be a trial and, hopefully there'll be some sort of an answer for the families, because that's all that really matters, the families. People who talk about it, it doesn't really matter.
We'll search for answers as we investigate the Idaho student murders.
So much of the coverage of this story has focused on that crime scene because of what happened there and what it was all about. It was about young people living their best lives inside.
Yeah, I got to check it out. Like I said, I've been kind of busy the last week or so dealing with this freaking lawnmower over here, but I finally got the lawnmower fixed. And then I've been working on my computer, and then I rained for the last couple of days because what the hell was I talking about? Because the Debbie, really poured here yesterday and today. So I'll check out that HBO thing on them. you know, and these kids in Idaho, they didn't deserve this. You know,
This home together, friends who were all doing the right thing and doing well in school, socially, academically, and setting themselves up for incredibly bright futures. Those futures.
I haven't had HBO since Game of Thrones, which was a few years ago now.
Were taken away. I want to show you a picture. This is from October of 2023. This was the scene. They'd gone through, got all the evidence out, then they boarded it up and just wanted to keep people away from it. Such an important part of this case, this trial, and this investigation. But this was the last month or 2 months at this building.
How many people think this guy's guilty? I mean, I do. $300 a month for cable around. Yeah, we got rid of cable a long time ago here. It's just too freaking expensive, and it's not that it's just expensive. It'd be one thing if it was worth it, but it's just not. I mean, you get 200 channels of nothing I'm going to watch. What is it? It's August, so in about another, month or so, I'll be watching football. I mean, it's.
Going to be in existence. There was this battle by the university to demolish that.
Necessarily Evil's a good guy too. He's been here for forever. Necessarily Evil's a great guy.
Building, which brings me to my question that I want to investigate tonight, which is very, very simply, what does that crime scene look like now? We haven't been there in a while. So joining us live from Moscow, Idaho, Court TV producer Cody Thomas is with us. Cody, great to see you tonight. You're out there in Moscow. And that question from me is very simple. What does that crime scene look like now?
Well, Vinny, of course, one of the first things you notice when you come here now, you can kind of see behind me, the house is no longer here. I know my face is a little cut off right now, but it's no longer here. And like you mentioned, it was demolished. There was some emotion surrounding that demolition because some of the parents felt that it was a critical piece of evidence. The university officials felt like it was the first step of healing. But regardless of that, I did take a look around the perimeter, making sense of what's left here of the property and also making sense of what could have happened the night that Bryan Kohberger allegedly went inside that property. Take a look.
We are here at that King Road location where Ethan Chapin, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonzalez.
Well, I want to know what they're doing there. The place isn't even there anymore. It's so weird.
Has tragically lost their lives in November of 2022. And as you look behind me here, I'll step out of the frame a little bit. You can see that house is no longer here. They demolished it in December of 2023. There's still, though, memorials left out here, some stuffed animals, some flowers. Obviously, this community still really cares for these 4 young students. But regardless of this house being here now, we still want to give you a lay of the land of what is still here and what investigators have to go on as far as pinpointing where and how alleged suspect Bryan Kohberger got into the house in that early morning hour of November 13th.
Also, I'm not buying the fact that they were sleeping, especially the 2 downstairs. I just don't buy that. And I don't think they were sleeping upstairs either. I also think the two that were downstairs, I think they were attacked first. That's just my opinion. And what I want to know is the witness that saw him, or supposedly him, walk by her door, or walk close to her. I want to know why she didn't see a knife, because if he left the sheath, where did he put the knife? Was he holding it? Did he put it in his pocket? Did he? I don't know. It's just strange how she didn't say she saw a knife. And if he was holding the knife while he was walking through the house, there should have been some, droppings somewhere It's just weird. That whole witness thing is a little weird to me.
2022. Of course, this is the space where the home would have been in between these private residences, and over to the left, these apartment buildings. Now, people who lived in this apartment building back then.
I mean, the DoorDash driver is a little weird to me too, because he had to have, they had to have arrived almost at the same time. You know, because they said the attack probably happened between 4 and 4:20. Is that what I heard? 4. So when was it? Because I know the DoorDash driver got there at 4:02. She went to go get the food and bring it back to the room. So it's just that whole series of events. Maybe he went through the upstairs and the DoorDash driver went through the downstairs. I don't know. It's just so weird. But they had to have been in the same parking lot at the same time at some point.
It used to be pitch black all throughout this parking lot. As you can see, there's no street lights anywhere. But soon after those murders, this light bulb right here, people who lived at the residence say this light bulb was replaced to give it a little more illumination around this area.
To me, that's the $1 million question, buddy. I don't know. I know that according to the interview that they just did with these guys, they said that she went and got the food. And I think the suspect himself was in the house before. I think the suspect went in the house before when nobody was there. That's just, you know, because he knew the layout of the house. He knew exactly where he was going. It's my opinions on this whole thing.
Of course, they still have it roped off. Not too long ago, all of this was sealed off by crime tape. And here's some of those memorials I was talking about. As you can see, flowers, stuffed animals. Put a little bit more in focus here. Some candles. Looks like a framed picture right there. Obviously, these girls and Ethan were very much so cared for by the community. And you can see this fence going up the right of where the property would have been. Now, all of that is, of course, private property. We can't go up there. And likely that Bryan Kohberger could not have gone up there either if he did commit these crimes. But we want to take you up this hill right here to this back parking lot to where his car, that white Elantra that's reported on in the court documents, may have been parked that night. So as we stand here on this side hill, this side road that would have gone up the left side of that property, we can see that it's not really easily accessible by foot. I'll zoom in. Given the fact there's a pretty big drop off right here, it looks to be maybe 3 or 4 feet. You know, you could easily hurt yourself and get injured if you're trying to come off of that. And there are also these rusted, looks as if to be what used to be fence posts. Maybe there used to be a fence here to kind of, you know, keep it from this building that is over here. But again, you.
Good to see you. I've been trying to catch your stuff. I caught the earlier one this week. She's got an awesome channel. Lighting the Way Home's got an awesome channel. I try to catch as much as I possibly can. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in.
See, not that accessible, at least by foot, definitely not by car.
Has anybody seen Dandy Linus? I haven't seen her in forever.
On this side, and also as we stand here, you can tell that it's not that busy of a road. There's not a single car that's come by for the minutes I've been here so far. But at one point in time when the house was here, outside of these trees, it did provide a pretty clear look into the side.
I think there's a correlation with these guys, though. You know, I'm pretty sure this guy was a budding SKer, and he was trying to, you know, emulate some of the other SKers that have come before him. But this guy here, as smart as he thought he was, I think is pretty much an idiot. He just made so many mistakes, in my opinion.
At windows of some of those bedrooms of the house, and even a peek into the kitchen on the second floor where the crimes allegedly happened. Up here is the back parking lot to those apartments. And as I pan to the left, you can see that it also leads right to where the back of the King Road house where the victims lived at the time.
I hope Dandy Linus is okay. I haven't seen her for a while. Of course, everybody's probably enjoying their summer at this point.
Now, of course, the leaves are a little grown up now, but in November when it was a little cold, the leaves are off the trees, provided a clear view right into the back windows of some of those bedrooms and a super clear view of the kitchen, those glass sliding doors leading to the second floor that could have provided access inside the house. Remember,
I mean, I think 4 o'clock in the morning is a weird time to be, doing this. Why 4 o'clock? It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, he's definitely an educated idiot. I've said for years that, SKers like Ted Bundy and BTK and some of these other cases, SKers, they probably wouldn't be able to get away with the shit they got away with back then. Not these days with forensic technology and cell phone stuff. And these people, they're limited with how many mistakes they can do these days because there's so much more technology now than there was, back when Bundy was doing his shit and when BTK was doing his stuff. I mean,
that police reported there was no signs of forced entry into the home once they arrived. And they also believe that this back lot could have been where the alleged suspect Brian Kohberger parked his car and scoped out the scene that night of November 12th into November 13th.
The defense is going to challenge the shit out of these cell phone pings, though. That's just my theory.
When the crimes happened, again, this is the back lot right behind where that house used to sit.
And of course, Vinny, as far as the prosecution and the defense in this case, they have made it clear that they got everything they needed evidence-wise from this house before.
I mean, people forget this guy had, martial arts training, and martial arts training is pretty self-disciplined. This guy knew exactly what he was doing, as far as the act of committing the unaliving. I mean, it didn't take him long to subdue these people, in my opinion, because he had that kind of training to get in and get out. But, he didn't account for forensics, for CCTV stuff, cell phone stuff, all of that kind of stuff. He just remarkably stupid.
It was taken down.
Yeah, I still believe it's a mistake. The people who need to go in that house are the people who are going to decide the case, the jury. Now they're going to get pictures. I
hope you're okay, Miranda. Oh, that's fine. You're awesome. I do care. That's what I do. Been really worried about Southern Gal, but she was on tonight.
They get some renderings, but they won't be able to actually walk through it to get a better idea. So I disagree with it, but they're the experts in Idaho. That's the way they do it. When you went up to that top area, to me, it's
anybody that can stay up and listen to my bullshit this late is an extreme person. You guys are all awesome. It's 1:22 a.m. on a Sunday morning. You guys are all great.
It's always been about that area because from there's the darkness, there's the cover. It's a lot that no one's really going to be going to necessarily. And it's a way to make your way to that house without drawing much attention.
That's exactly right. In fact, it was when you go up the side road to the left of where the property used to sit, there was kind of that drop off that I talked about. But when you got to the back, it was a much easier slope. If someone were to try to sneak down there, you probably wouldn't break an ankle coming down. And of course, it led right up to those back glass doors. So who knows? That could be a possible entry point where he could have been. But wait.
You guys are all awesome. Heather.
Till the details come out in trial, of course.
Right, and I think you were 100% on with the sliding doors. We know that they were dusting them for prints and the windows down there as well. Well, but it's a safe place. Moscow was always a safe place. There was no reason that you would have to lock your doors in Moscow, but now obviously you do. All right, Cody.
And in
Tom,
fact, Vinny, there's some students out here. It was pretty bustling. You know, they're moving around. I'm sure it's August, so school's starting back. And like to your point, that it's pretty safe. They're out here throwing frisbee, playing intramural sports. So this is probably a one-off situation here in Moscow.
all right, Cody's gonna.
I still think it's possible they met at a college football game or they ran into each other at a Washington Idaho football game or something like that, and then they kind of then he kind of stalked them from there. What the hell do I know? I don't know. Maybe.
Going to stay with us. Coming up, how was the accused killer tracked from his apartment?
We're beginning that drive that Brian Kohlberger would have made that night of November 12th, going into the morning of November 13th on the way to Moscow, Idaho.
Join Court TV's Vinny Politan. In every story, in every trial, every case, there's at least two sides to it. To dive into
On towers, we know a crucial point in this investigation into police locking down Brian Kohlberger as a potential suspect were his cell phone pings in and around Pullman, Washington, and Moscow, Idaho. So these towers right here are more than likely some of the towers they caught some of his pings on as he left and returned.
I've never been to Idaho, but I bet it's nice. I bet it's cold.
Campus here on Washington State University's campus in Pullman, Washington.
One thing about the Idaho student killer, the accused killer, spent a lot of time driving around that area by himself in his car. In fact, I want you to take a look at this. He was stopped by police. This is beforehand.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I think he was following them for a long time, a good 2 or 3 months. He's the kind of person I think that probably went in to that house when nobody was there to scope it out. He's, my opinion, very similar to BTK, where he kind of, really planned out this whole thing.
For doing some improper driving. Take a listen.
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with speeding because someone had stopped. I wasn't sure what they were doing, and then they put on their light to turn. Mm-hmm. So I thought that maybe they were letting me go through. Oh. Did you see that?
No.
I feel like right before.
These are the people that I'm pretty sure cops hate to stop. They don't, they never shut up.
I made the turn. There was someone who made a right. They didn't have their signal on, so I wasn't sure if they were just waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would just advise.
This guy here has absolutely no respect for women at all. It's just my take on him. He thinks he's king shit, and he, the way he's talking to this police officer here, because she's the one, he probably wouldn't have done this if this was a male cop. It's just my opinion.
Just don't enter the intersection until you can go so you don't get stuck.
So him driving around by himself, and that is the theory that investigators and prosecutors have here, which brings me to the next question that I want to take a look at, which is how was Brian Kohlberger, the accused killer, tracked from his apartment? How did that go? Court TV producer Cody Thomas is still with us, and also joining us now, private investigator with over 20 years of experience, criminologist and profiler Jason Jensen. Cody, let me go to you first. You are there, and you were taking a ride, and you noticed some things. What did you find out?
Like I said, I like Rick. Rick is a good guy. I can understand why people don't like people, but Rick Snee is a good guy. You can only take so many punches and stuff like that. and I'm pretty sure he cares about the girls too. It's just, like I said, everybody's got opinions. I have no problems with opinions. I may not agree with them, but it's not like I'm going to jump on people just because they have an opinion. It's nobody knows in that case. Nobody knows. There's one person that knows, and there were 3 people that knew, and 2 of them are not here. And it's all we care about. I don't care who did it. Whoever did it, I hope they get the worst possible punishment that anybody could get. Period. Those 2 girls in the Delphi case did not deserve what they got. It was a brutal unaliving. They went through hell. So whoever did it, I don't care. They just need to go away. Period. But opinions, I don't have a problem as long as you're not attacking family and not attacking other creators. It's just ridiculous to do that. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, Vinny, to directly answer that question about how it was tracked, we know it was a combination between those cell phone pings on the surrounding towers and surveillance footage of that white Elantra going to and from his apartment.
Because I got kids too, so it's always that, fatherly thing, like I get upset when, anything happens to kids. It's just, when they were kids, even these kids here, the 4, Idaho kids, they're kids technically. I mean, they're not like little babies or, they're kids. And, the parents have to deal with this stuff. It's just got to be so, horrible. It's just absolutely heartbreaking, really. And, opinions mean nothing. They're just opinions. That's all they are.
To the crime scene, but I took that drive from his apartment in Pullman here to the crime scene in Moscow, Idaho. Here's a look at what that would have looked like.
So right now, I'm on the Washington State University campus. More specifically, I'm at the complex where Bryan Kohberger lived right here behind me during the time of the Idaho student murders. Now, this is the location from where he drove.
And your kids are always going to be your kids, no matter how old they are. They're 40. My son now is 26, 27. He's still a kid. It's always going to be my kid. So you just got to feel for the families. The families it's not easy for them.
To the King Road house in Moscow, Idaho, just a few minutes across the Idaho state line. I have the location queued up into GPS. I want to take you guys on the drive, what it would have looked like for Bryan Kohberger to take that night. GPS says it's only about 18 minutes away, so not too far of a drive. And of course, right now it's just after 8 o'clock here in Pullman, Washington. And we do know that Bryan Kohberger left this location around 2:53 a.m. So of course it would have been much darker, but at least while we still have a little bit of light outside, I want you guys to see what the drive would have looked like for.
I am the lowest person on the totem pole in my house. The animals come before me. There's the matriarch, the boss, the head honcho, which is my wife, right? There's that person there that keeps everything together. I don't know how she does it. And then there's the kids, right? There's, the oldest one, the youngest one, and then the cats, the dogs, all the other animals. And then there's me way down here on the totem pole. And I have no say whatsoever in this house. It's almost like I don't even live here. So there's that. So if anything goes wrong in this place here and people come to me and asking me for questions or how to fix things, all hell has gone, broken loose. It's over. It's pretty much over because if they're listening to me, woohoo.
For him as we go from here to Idaho, the University of Idaho, to that King Road house location. So right now, we're going to take a little trip. We're beginning that drive that Bryan Kohberger would have made that night of November 12th.
I only speak when I'm spoken to, right? Nobody asks. Nobody even bothers to ask me. They just, who cares what he has to say? Just
going into the morning of November 13th on the way to Moscow, Idaho. Again, we're here in Washington State's campus, leaving Brian Koberger's apartment complex. Now, one of the first things I am noticing is that I don't see, or at least
my job in this house is to fuck everything up. That's my job. That's what I do. And I try really hard to do it.
readily see any security cameras that are clearly in sight. But we do know that according to the probable cause affidavit, that at least 5 cameras on WSU's campus and around the campus caught Koberger's white Elantra leaving around 2:53 a.m. and coming back after 5 a.m. Of course, we know those murders occurred somewhere in that window of time. Now, as I'm coming up to the exit point of campus, we see a lot of these light posts adjacent to the sidewalk here on my right. Now, what I have noticed is that every single one of those light posts that I've seen has a camera sitting right on top, a security camera. So any one of these, if this was one of the roads he took getting back on campus, could have been one of the cameras that picked him up in that white Elantra. As we've made our way off of campus.
The thing about the white Elantra, though, is there's got to be millions of white Elantras. That's all you see. There's a white Elantra at every crime scene. Everybody always sees a white car. It doesn't matter what crime it is, where it happens. Somebody always sees a white car or a white van. Remember the Beltway snipers? There was a white van that everybody was looking for. So I wonder if they're going to argue that in court. I mean, because I don't really think they have a definitive look at the car. But I just don't think that's going to fly. But, I mean, they should go after that. That's for sure. There's always a white vehicle. You name it, the crime, you name it. There's a witness that sees some sort of a white vehicle. It's like automatic. Yes. Well, at least you have hair. I didn't even bother having white hair. It just fell out.
Out to one of the main roads nearby.
One of the biggest sayings in my house is he that stupid? Yeah, he is. He is that dumb.
You can see these huge, massive expanses of land on either side of the road, but what you don't see are streetlights or surveillance cameras out here. So I'd imagine after midnight, it's just after 8 o'clock here, but after midnight.
Dean, I'm sending you a charger. Definitely going to send you a charger. If we lose you, buddy, have a good night, man.
Night, I imagine it to be incredibly.
Dean's awesome. Dean's a great guy.
Dark outside of headlights from your car or a few other cars passing by, and you see there's not too many of them right now, not that busy of a road. I can only imagine it to be less busy again after midnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. when he was allegedly out heading toward Moscow.
Why 4 a.m. though? That's just so weird. That 4 a.m. that's a weird thing. There's got to be something to that 4 a.m. thing.
So now we've made it to SR 270, State Road 270, the main road connecting Pullman to Moscow, Idaho. A little bit busier. You see traffic intersections, a lot more cars, a lot more businesses on either side. There's a sign, "Welcome to Moscow." And as I'm pulling into this intersection, I see several surveillance. More than likely, some of which that picked his car up, that white Hyundai Elantra.
This is awesome. I've never seen this before. I've never actually seen the drive that he must have taken.
Of the murders. Here we are. We have reached the campus of the University of Idaho. There's the marquee right there out front. So now we are officially on campus, heading toward the King Road house, where the 4 victims.
Marquee was awesome. I'm glad you can join in the chat. It's always good to have you here.
Lost their lives that night. There's a little lay of the land, some fields here on the right, looks like intramural fields. Some sort of barns of sorts, probably for the agriculture school up towards the right.
From what I was told, there might have been a little bit of freezing precipitation. Was there like a rain thing, or that somebody? I thought there was like some snow or something.
We're coming here, I see a few more cars, a little more busy around this area. A lot more street lights as well. They haven't quite turned on yet, but there are plenty of them out here.
I just think it's really odd, though, that the DoorDash driver and this guy here got there kind of at the same time. I wonder if he had some sort of knowledge about that. It's just so weird how that, or maybe it's just coincidence. I don't know, but that's just weird.
So I imagine it when it gets extremely dark that it's not, too dark. It's well lit once these street lights cut on. So now we've made our way through the depths of the University of Idaho campus. As you can see, there's a group of students right here in front of me. Very busy out here as school is preparing to start back. But right up here, as we make this left turn onto King Road, up here on the right, I'll slow it down just a little bit, is where the King Road house would have been.
Of course, he might have been just waiting there, waiting for a perfect time to go into the house. But it just seems kind of strange that it happened at the same time almost.
You can see it's blocked off right here. This is the drive that Kohberger would have had to take that night to get to this location on November 13th, 2022. We have just wrapped up that drive from Kohberger's apartment in Pullman over here to the University of Idaho in Moscow to the King Road location. Of course, the house still would have been sitting there. The sun has set, and it is still to be determined as to what Bryan Kohberger allegedly did or where he went once he got here. But this is what that drive would have looked like for him leaving that night on November 13th of 2022.
Now, of course, Vinny, one thing I did know when I got on campus here in Moscow was that Sigma Chi house where Xana and Ethan were coming from the night of the murders, and it was only about 200 yards away from the King Road house.
Jason Jensen, unique way of tracking the accused killer in this case, a combination of cell phone and video, because that phone is off at some point. So that's how investigators have to piece all this together.
You're absolutely right, Vinny. They had to take a combination because the theory is, or the argument will be, that Bryan Kohberger.
I always thought that he might have used that DoorDash thing as a ruse to, it might have been the perfect opportunity for him to, use that as some sort of a, ruse. DoorDash driver gets there, so he kind of sneaks in another door while all of that's going on. Nobody's paying attention. Yeah, I don't mind Jason Jensen. Jason Jensen's pretty cool.
Turned off his cell phone in order to avoid detection and tracking. So, that's a sign of a sophisticated criminal in this type of a murder. So they had to piece together real-time video footage from surveillance cameras, which clearly indicated that the car was an Elantra. So there's no mistake.
I actually think he was planning on unaliving a lot of people that night. That's just my opinion. I think the reason why he left that other person alive is because he wanted her to call 911, and he couldn't understand why they weren't there yet. So he went back to find out what was going on. This is all about his his craziness. He wanted to get this on the news. He wanted to take control of that. He was hoping that they would call the 911 quick and he'd be on the news and all of that stuff. He was hoping to watch that, but it didn't happen. So he probably went back and said, what the hell's going on?
And then all the cell phone activity before and after the time of the crime really places Kohberger at different parts throughout southern Moscow, all the way back to Pullman. And before he left, like Cody had indicated. So it seems like a pretty button-up case in my perspective.
Well, and a couple of things that make this very compelling is the way they're able to get and synchronize some of the video they have.
I also didn't know that their bed was up against a wall. So, I thought it was kind of like in the middle of the room. So the two girls, their bed was like up against a wall. So one of them was probably trapped and couldn't do anything.
The phone is in that particular car. And that will be crucial, right? Because if you just have video, it could be anyone. And I think that's what the defense will be relying upon when this goes to trial.
Yes, and that's one of the things that we experienced throughout, the legal process. And you're familiar, Benny, as a former prosecutor. Defense attorneys like to take things, different pieces of evidence as a snapshot in time and argue against it. But it's the totality of all this evidence that will make or break.
Yeah, the father thinks there was a kind of like what, how do I say this? An unaliving kit, kind of like Israel Keys had. He had it all planned out, that he had changes of clothes in his car. He had, all the necessities to wash the car, clean the car. But who knows? I don't know. That's what Kaylee Gonzalez's father thinks.
Break the case against him.
And finally, Jason, they're going to claim that he is somewhere else. So to do that, they should have some way to prove that, either video or cell phone, just the same way that the prosecution is proving it here.
No, exactly. You would think that there would be a trail taking him from his apartment where Cody was at to the destination, the nature park where he supposedly was looking at the night sky. So we'll see, right?
Absolutely. Jason Jensen, thank you so much. Cody Thomas, great work on the ground in Moscow. I'm Vinny Politan. We will keep looking for answers as the investigation continues.
4 students were brutally murdered in their home near the University of Idaho. Kaylee continued to investigate Idaho student murders.
Now, the families have shown incredible strength throughout all of it.
That's the problem I have with them being targeted first. I think, whoever was awake, I think got targeted first. But I think they were all kind of awake.
But each family has their own journey that they're taking. And at one of the memorials that took place, we got to hear from the Gonzalez family, Kaylee's family. I think it touched a lot of people. I wanted to show it to you one more time.
Maddie is truly a blessing in our lives.
This is the reason why I'm in this whole true crime genre thing, is this right here, because this just sucks. Having to give statements like this, and this is just absolutely horrible.
Watching her grow and mature into the amazing woman she becomes is truly priceless in our hearts. She was the world to us.
Kaylee is a huge part of our family.
I mean, this just sucks.
The dynamics of our family will never be the same. We know this is, it's hard to accept, but she was a beautiful girl.
We're gonna miss her. We're gonna miss her more than anybody knows, and I know a lot of you people, the ones that know her, are gonna be right there with us. It's gonna be a tough road. That kid was, she shone light to the day.
The world is a darker place without them, but the light of their love and memories will always guide us all. Thank you all for joining us in this celebration of life of these beautiful souls. We love you, Maddie, Kaylee, Santa, and Ethan.
It's amazingly tragic, obviously, but then the story and the case moves into our system of justice. And that brings me to our question, which is, it's a big one. What is justice here? What is justice?
This case, in my opinion, when this finally goes to trial, if it ever goes to trial, will be the trial of the century.
for the families. Let me bring in our special guests, the mother and father of Kaylee Gonzalez. Steve and Christy Gonzalez are with us, as well as the attorney representing the family, Shannon Gray. Thank you all so much for being here. I know this is never easy, but I think the nation has seen the strength of your family, Christy and Steve. And as you sit here tonight, what is justice for you? What is justice?
See, the problem is, you know, these people here that do stuff like this, they're not, you know, like the average person. You know, they don't have, you know, that's why I think impact statements are kind of just a way for the victim's family or the victim's advocate to kind of get their frustration out. But when it comes to these animals that do stuff like this, they have no remorse. They have no way of actually really caring about the victim. They just don't. So same thing here with this guy. So who knows? That's like the best question ever is why? Why do people do stuff like this? Why do, you know, I don't think we'll ever know. People are just weird. People are just crazy. They're not like the average person that just can't imagine why somebody would do this to somebody else. Brian Colbert to me is no different. You see his stoic face in court. It's like he has no remorse for any of the victims. He doesn't care. He just doesn't. Just it's awful.
That's a hard question that we've thought a lot about. Sometimes I feel that there is no justice. Nothing's going to bring the kids back. And
yeah, witness testimony is just that. It's been proven it's pretty unreliable. And when they have witnesses go on the stand, they usually get, you know, destroyed on the stand. In this case, they do have, you know, some forensic stuff. In my opinion, in the Delphi case, they don't have that. So they're going to have to, you know.
Therefore, the only thing that would be justice for me is for this person to be living in agony in the depths of hell.
I know that there's a lot of families who don't actually get somebody that is actually charged for it. So I do feel that we are lucky in that standpoint. And a lot of detectives and investigators put in a lot of hard work, and we're going to be appreciative for that. It's a long, slow process, but we're willing and we're ready to do that. We're ready to, you know, put in the time and the effort and get through this and just show people that this is the way that, you know, we can see justice in action, see the truth being taken in place, and then the right outcome and you know, society gets back to normal.
Shannon, this is
you know, these people here, the parents, they were having the time of their life. They had kids. They, you know, did everything the parents are supposed to do. They raised their kids, and then one day, everything just went to shit. You know, it's horrible. It's just absolutely, and now they find themselves in a situation where they have to rely on other people to make decisions for. It's just a sucky, you know, it's just a sucky thing because unfortunately, you never know what a jury is going to do. You know, that's in any case. Prosecutors will tell you that. Defense attorneys will tell you that. You never know what a jury is going to do. So, my opinion, they're probably going to convict this guy, but you just don't know. You don't know. And, you know, these people are putting up a good front, but you can tell that they're just, you know, they never asked for this. That's for sure.
A difficult journey, an absolutely difficult journey. That's why I'm so glad that you are there to help this family through this. What is your take so far on how our system of justice is doing in this case?
Hey, buddy, welcome back. Necessary Evil's back. You're good, man.
You know, it's a tough question because, you know, it's a small jurisdiction. You know, I work in a much larger jurisdiction where things move a lot faster. You know, you think things are going to move a certain way and sometimes they don't. So it's been difficult for the family.
This pre-trial stuff, this has got to be hell for the family. I mean, you just have, you know, so especially nowadays with social media, I mean, you just can't get away from it. You know, that's all people are. Look at me, I'm talking about it too. So unfortunately, they kind of have to be involved in this. It's just, there's no other way to do it. I mean, it's just got to suck.
Because a lot of times I'll say, this is how A, B, and C should happen. And they don't happen that way. I have to explain why it didn't happen and, you know, why it's taken so long or it's taken longer than usual or why, you know, the prosecution.
Hey, Honeybee is here. Hi, Honeybee. Honeybee is freaking awesome. Honeybee is a great person. She has a great channel. She does great work with Flora, great work with everything. Good to see you, Honeybee.
Or the, you know, the defense have done things that they've done. But, you know, I'm small compared to what Steve and Christy go through every day. You know, I'm just thankful that they found me, that I can help them and answer any questions I can about them and ease their minds when their minds need to be eased about the criminal justice process and what's going on. I mean, they're always going to be a part of my life. And
yes, I'm an old softy, Honeybee. Honeybee is truly a great person, though.
And I love them to death. So,
Christy, what are the plans for the trial when it happens?
But I know it's late for her because she's in the same state that I'm in, so it's late here. But
well, we'll know more at the end of this month when the change of venue is heard and is decided. We plan on being there. We want to be there. There's about 10 of us in the family that intend on being there for most of it. Obviously, there's going to be days that we will not be there intentionally for, but we're hoping that it stays in Latah County. So, you know, that's a 2-hour drive for us. The further counties that they're looking at would make it hard. So we would have to relook at things. But we want to be there.
Steve,
we intend to be there.
Steve, as you have been on this journey now, it seems like forever, I'm sure, for you. Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel? Do you see that, hey, at some point, this page will turn?
Of how we get things right again. Latah County did everything. The reason this is so slow and this process is taking so long is because they tried to do everything exactly by the book so that the community could see the justice, they could see it, and it wouldn't have to be taken, you know, Idaho's a large state, it wouldn't have to be taken, 6-7 hours away. So I look at this as a living example of the way we correct things. When things go wrong, when things fall off the rails, like you said, you send your kids off to college, the last thing you should think of is anything other than your kid being a dumb kid and doing something embarrassing to get them on a camera or something that you're going to see at your employer the next day. That's like really bad. And for murder, for death, that's just not, that can't be new normal. That can't be something that we accept as a society. So I think we can be a living example for everyone, how we can course correct and figure this thing out and hold somebody accountable and, show that this is just.
I mean, just look at the mom's face. You can tell she's just not well. She's just trying to hold it back. She's just doing the best she could possibly do to just maintain at this point in this interview. It sucks.
Just a one-off that won't happen, and it's nothing new to them.
Christy, are there moments where you can have happy memories? Are there moments where you can smile and think about Kaylee?
Oh, absolutely. You can't think about
Necessarily Evil's freaking awesome. Yes, if all else fails, just go back to trolling. That is freaking awesome. That made my day right there.
Kaylee and not smile, and we have so many happy memories and so many videos and so many pictures. And I look at them all the time. It's those late nights that get you, and you think of the tragedy that unfolded. And,
There's one thing about this channel I like is the chat. The chat is above and beyond. Good God. It's classic.
It's terrorizing, it's traumatizing, but there are happy
I mean, I know I shouldn't be laughing. This is serious shit here, but some of the stuff in the chat is just...
moments. There are.
Steve, if this gets the conclusion that we're all hoping for, which is the truth comes out and there's a conviction, are you prepared to make an impact statement?
Yeah, I just know my family. I know my kids. They're all strong. They're all intelligent, super smart. Every one of them has already wrote it out. They've already got set in stone. So yeah,
This is the case right here, though, that I could see a plea coming here. Because I think that's what the defense lawyer is really trying to do in this case, is limit the damage as much as possible. Because, the DNA is DNA. I don't know how they're going to overcome that. So they may be trying to, do all of this wrangling in court just to get some sort of a life in prison type sentence or whatever.
We're willing to and just thank the community and thank all the people who've put their lives on pause so that we could have that moment, so we could have the justice, because it doesn't just happen by accident. And we've got people like Shannon in our life. It's amazing what we've been able to see, how people shown love to our family and reached out to us and flooded us with letters and different things. So yeah, I
agree, Honeybee. 100% agree. Sometimes you just gotta laugh, I guess.
I feel an obligation to all the people that have been with us this whole time. And that's why there's that sense of pressure that, this has got to turn out a certain way. And we're looking forward to seeing that turn out.
And Shannon, do you expect any problems with...
Laugh away. Laugh, 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 laugh away. It'd be inhuman to not laugh. That's laughing is part human.
All the victims that want to speak, being able to speak, if and when we get to that part of this case?
Yeah, that was an odd occurrence that happened over in the Lori Vallow trial, where the judge was pretty, I don't know, strict or adamant about following the statute when it came to who could speak and give victims impact statements. Most of the time, the immediate family speak. The judge may put down, his foot when it comes to grandparents and other things that under the statute currently aren't maybe allowed unless they're serve as a representative for the family. But I'm hoping that the whole anybody gets to speak what they want to. There's a reasoning to it, but I don't see there being any problems in this case. So
that's good to hear. Shannon Gray, thank you so much. Christy and Steve Gonzalez, You know our thoughts are with you, and you know that the nation's thoughts are with you.
All right, so that's the end of that. I'm going to keep following this here. I think they have a trial date set for this. Not sure, but I'm pretty sure that'll be going on. This trial here might start before Delphi, but we'll see. All right, so I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. I want to go to this whole Sade Robinson thing. So if people don't know about this here, hold on a second. I'll start sharing this. There it is. Okay. So this person here, Maxwell Anderson, is suspected of unaliving Sade Robinson and basically putting body parts all over the place. This might be a little triggering. But they got an informant now that kind of reiterating the fact that this guy planned on doing this to her for a while. So it's Sade Robinson is a 19-year-old unaliving. Just another horrible case here.
The spotlight on the murder of Sade Robinson and how her alleged killer reportedly planned her death weeks in advance. Sade Robinson was last seen alive on a dinner date in Milwaukee with Maxwell Anderson, their first date, seen here in surveillance images from WITI TV. Cell phone records show that they ended up at Anderson's house, and then she was never heard from again. The next day, someone found a severed leg in a nearby park belonging to Robinson. Anderson is now accused of killing, dismembering, and leaving Sade's body parts all over Milwaukee. WISN television reports that a friend of Anderson's is now a confidential informant in the case. He told police that Anderson showed him a room in his basement where he planned to kill Sade. The search warrant indicated a plastic tarp covered a sanitation sink and 3 saws were found in the room. The informant told police that Anderson planned on shooting Robinson and then dismembering her body in the room before disposing of her body throughout the city. Now, the defense has denied that these claims have any relevance and that this informant has any information. Let's bring in to discuss attorney and law professor Dante Mills and forensic death investigator, professor and host of the Body Bags podcast, Joseph Scott Morgan, is with us. Thank you both for sticking around with us. Joseph, I'm going to start with you. We've got this search warrant that is showing things that were recovered inside of the home. A P-trap from the sanitary tub in the basement, a pipe in the laundry area, swabs of stain and cushions on a leather couch. With how is this, in your opinion, going to be connected and put in front of a jury to indicate that this was in fact something that was planned out and that it connects to Sade Robinson?
I don't want to step on my colleagues' toes here relative to and get too far off into the law relative to this, but I have to say that if anything smacks of premeditation, this does. This individual is purposed, and we do know this relative to dismemberment cases. You need privacy for this, and what many people don't understand is that when you have cases of dismemberment, it is arguably one of the most messy affairs that an individual perpetrator can engage in because of all of the physical evidence that's left behind. It requires a lot of preparation. You have to have knowledge, and then all those things that you don't account for, particularly at even a molecular level of the things that you're leaving behind. I don't want to be too grotesque, but when you think about, say, for instance, even elements of bone that are left behind as a result of sawing, undetected blood, and the fact that things would be lined with plastic goes my spine, because it's hard for me to fathom that this would be his first time out of the gate relative to something like this. And maybe it's just something he's been planning for a while, and he started with this poor young lady. I have no idea, but this would have taken time and purpose.
There are many people who are poised listening to see if there are going to be any connections between this defendant and any other unsolved cases, because even in his home, there was women's clothing that was located in the beams. There was this bedazzled compact mirror that seemed to belong to a woman. So there are these and names in a notebook. So there's this possibility, but we can't go there until we hear from police if they've got a connection. Dante, can you speak to where this defense is right now? Because you've got this informant, and that really could just finish off this case for the defense. But they are disputing that this informant is actually legit. Should the state even go there? They got a lot of evidence. Otherwise, seems the last person seen was Sade. Do you put this informant on the stand who may have credibility issues?
Absolutely, because what it shows, and I thank the professor for leaving me an avenue here, is the means, motive, and opportunity of the defendant to have planned this crime and to have the ability to carry it out. So all of the pieces in place, especially as something as grotesque as this, as something as gruesome as murder, especially when you're talking about the possibility that there could have been other victims or would have been other victims. You want to make sure that this person, if he is responsible for this, does not have the ability.
Something tells me this isn't his first unaliving here, but that's just me.
Ability to do it to anyone else ever again. And that means following through with every piece of evidence that you can. So you want to pair the fact that you had her cell phone ping at his house to show that she was there. And then you bring in this witness to talk about the layout that he had, where he had the plastic. He said in advance that he was going to do these types of things. It's disturbing that he had another woman's ID at his house, a 27-year-old woman. So you want to make sure that you have everything included in your case so that the jury hears as much as possible and they have everything they need to come up with a guilty verdict if in fact he is responsible for this, and make sure he goes away for a long time.
Joseph Scott Morgan, how aggressively do you think detectives are following up on these leads? They're looking for the woman whose ID it was, the woman's name's in the notebook. Yeah. Are they aggressively going after this case, or are they really focused on Robinson, and if they are led to something else? I mean, inquiring minds want to know.
Full court press here. And I'm telling you, you have to overturn every stone in this area when you begin to think about forgotten individuals that are walking the streets, these sorts of things, and looking for any elements that any kind of foreign DNA that's going to be inside of that basement. And I have to remind folks that there are any number of serial perpetrators that are out there over the years that have kept mementos. I think most famously is probably BTK. Many people remember him, and he actually had a hiding place where he would keep elements. And, they have an amount of forensic psychologists, don't want to be one, but, they go back and they fantasize about these things and they try to relive it. It's something they can hold on to, long after a body is gone. And so these little elements, you talk about things like.
They literally used Ted Bundy's information about some of the stuff that they didn't know in the Green River unaliver. So there's there's some evidence that there's a correlation to some of these SKers and how they do their stuff, especially returning to the crime scenes sometimes. I don't think they had that knowledge before Ted Bundy. I may be wrong, but he kind of clued them in on that.
Intimate items, with underwear and things like this. And I have no insight into what they may have found. However, I think that it would be prudent for them to tear this house down, or go through it as with a fine-tooth comb, looking for any kind of foreign DNA that does not tie back to that residence specifically. And they need to pursue every potential lead, because I don't know how many open cold cases they have up there involving females that might fit her demographic and her specifics as far as age and appearance. But I think that they're probably pressing forward with this.
Let me follow up with you, Joseph, because this home was sold. It no longer belongs to Maxwell Anderson. Another family, ideally, is living inside of it. And the prosecutors and police have said, look, we've gathered all of the evidence we need to. We can go back when we want to. But you're talking about a full-on, deep, detailed, it seems like, a search of this house. You mentioned the words tear down.
This poor woman, I mean, just sucks.
To get to this information. Do you think that that's possible to do when you have another fully functioning family inside of that home that's not going to really be happy about the crime scene being torn apart like that?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Yep, she just picked the wrong date. That's for sure. She picked the wrong guy.
Oh, I would. It's interesting that this house was sold to somebody and they might not have had knowledge of this. I'm kind of interested in that aspect as well. But yeah, I mean, if the family's cooperating with the police, you talked about, or it has been mentioned, things being found in rafters, these sorts of things. It sounds as though they're going through every inch of this house. But that door has to be left open, and also any kind of further excavation that might need to take place in the surrounding yards as well. And let's keep in mind, he had various dump sites that he was going to. Famously, we covered this on my podcast.
See, that's the reason why I don't do just Delphi, because there's so many. I mean, I could literally do lives all week with all of this shit that goes on. There's so many cases out there. There's so many missing people. There's so many. It's exhausting. It really is. And just to concentrate on just one case all the time too. It's just not, but some people prefer to do that, and that's fine. There's there's a lot of cases going on.
Cast. Famously, we had, I hate to talk about this so badly, so horrible, but limbs, appearing out in the lake and this sort of thing that had been placed out there and had washed back ashore, perhaps. Nothing is off the table here.
Yeah, it's literally heartbreaking. When you hear stories like that, it's just who the hell wants to do that? Who wants to go out and try to find parts of your daughter? It just sucks. It's got to suck. And a lot of times what happens is these people get caught and then they just get released because, the courts have really their hands tied and they can't really do a lot. It just sucks.
Absolutely a gut-wrenching case. Such a difficult one for the family of Sade Robinson, this community. Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you so much for your insight. Dante Mel.
All right, so that's the end of that. I'll keep following that. They might find other ones for him. I would not be surprised if, he's been responsible for more. Yeah, I heard you were on, I forget where you were on. I think you were on Frosty's channel when I heard. All right, so we're going to go to this here. This happened to, they've been looking for this guy for a while. This guy here got caught out in California. And I didn't think anything of it until the next day. But they've been looking for this guy for a while. I'm not going to watch the whole car chase, but this guy has been wanted in Massachusetts for a while for, they just actually kind of broke this case not too long ago. And they've been looking for him. And then he was involved in a car chase out in LA. So here we go with this, and then I'll play. He was a serial. How do I say this? S-ayer.
Package, response package or pursuit package, I should say, from LAPD PD. It may have something to do with what this suspect is alleged to have done that is bringing such a large response from Elkridge.
I'll switch to this one here. Hold on a second. This is a little shorter.
A pursuit on the 405. LAPD is looking for this car right here. Let's get up to Gil Levis in Sky 5 with more details. What do you got for us, Gil?
Well, Courtney and Sam, this is the one on this vehicle is for a sexual assault, a serial sexual assault suspect in that vehicle. This all started down in the LA Harbor.
So we covered this a couple of weeks ago. They finally broke this case. This guy's been suspected in I think it was 3 or 4 different SA cases in Massachusetts, and they put out a bolo for him. And I didn't know that this was him in this car chase, but it was.
When LAPD Harbor Division officers got behind the vehicle, tried to pull it over, it ended up going into the port itself, in through the dock area. That's when LA.
Have a good night, Honeybee. Thank you so much for coming in. You didn't post your channel in here. You got a new video coming out next week. Collab with Grismatically Clever about walking for justice. Awesome. I'll have to keep my eyes open for that one. Have a good weekend.
Port police got involved as well. It eventually got onto the Vincent Thomas Bridge, went northbound on the 110 freeway, and then north on the 405 freeway. We are off the freeway right now. He did get back on the southbound 405 freeway past LAX. Now we're in the pretty much in the LAX area right now, off the 405 freeway, north of the 110 freeway. There's a line of LAPD officers in trail of the vehicle. It's been driving relatively slow on the freeway and here on the surface street, but a little bit of a difficult spot for us to cover due to the air traffic control tower and the air traffic in the area. But the vehicle continues southbound here on Glasgow, approaching Spruce.
Yeah, and if people know that secret to get away from at least helicopters, it's drive into LAX. What's the traffic situation like right now on the 405? I mean, I bet it's pretty bad, Gil.
You know, the northbound side wasn't too bad. The southbound side, when he looked back around and got on the southbound 405, was pretty heavy, and the driver decided to exit at Manchester. Now he's going back here. This is going to be eastbound on Arbor Vitae, and the vehicle is going to be heading back towards the 405 freeway. We'll see if the driver tries to get back onto the 405 or not, but it's continuing here. And it looks like he's going to swing right-hand turn here on La Cienega.
Any idea if the driver is the only person in the vehicle, or any reports?
So this guy's traveling really, really slow. Like this guy is, this isn't really technically a chase. It's just a crawl at this point, but you'll see why shortly here. I may fast forward this. Let's do that. Let's go here. All right, let's do this here.
Near LAX, at one point, it looked as though one of the LAPD cruisers may have clipped the rear bumper of that suspect vehicle. We did see a little bit of debris fly off, but obviously it didn't do anything to impair the ability, the functionality of that car. It's moving as you would expect it to move. Again, not at high speeds. He's not driving recklessly. By no means is this a high-speed pursuit, which bodes well for the motoring public, for pedestrians in the area, as things tend to only get more congested here in the fall.
I think this guy here, this is like a 30-year-old case that they finally kind of broke in Massachusetts, and they've been looking for this guy because he's the suspect now, and this is the reason why he's not stopping here.
The clock hour.
Yeah, so frustrating for LAPD, but they are definitely in control. I think the one thing is, Gil, that they have to
anticipate where to put that spike strip. So they've got to have officers on the ground and ready to deploy it and sort of try to strategize where this driver might go next. As it looks.
Hey, Charlotte, how are you? Good to see you. Charlotte's here. You must be done walking the dogs. Charlotte's in England. Good to see you, Charlotte.
Looks like he exits the freeway again. See that he even stops. LAPD is not.
Oh, there it goes.
There's another
There it
spike.
goes.
That one he hit. So we'll see what happens
Yes,
now.
definitely hit.
Yeah. Usually the air goes out of the tires very slowly, so he will be able to drive at least a while longer.
And getting very close to the UCLA campus right now on Westwood Boulevard, heading up north. And that's an example of the LAPD having plenty of time to get ahead of the vehicle and strategically putting that spike strip between cars there and getting a successful hit on that. So
That
we'll
was
see what
clever.
they decide to do here.
And when we saw the attempt earlier, you see it only goes out maybe 8 feet, so you're looking for a choke point to be able to cross the entire span of the road this suspect's able to drive, and there they were able to do it, actually hiding behind another car, and it looks to be sure to have gotten at the very least the front left and the rear left tire. So at the very least, if not more than those two, but that could be enough.
Yeah, great work by the LAPD. They laid back, they took in the situation. There is a commander calling all the shots in this. They anticipated where he was going to go. Then they deployed the officers on the ground. They got the spike strip, had to clear traffic out of the way so nobody else ran over it. And that was a direct contact. So we do anticipate that several of those tires on that pursuit suspect vehicle will be going flat. Generally, these are hollow tubes deployed from the spike strip. So it's not an immediate puncture for safety reasons. The air will go out of the tires very slowly, but he's going to start to feel that.
Going to pass to the
He's
left.
going to try to sneak.
He's back into the loop, though. He's going to go back into the loop and know where to go with that. So he's going to have to drive around or bail out, one or the other. And now he knows that they're going to try to do that. He really has no other outlet other than
this guy in this car is not running anywhere. You'll see.
When things get really dangerous for not only for the LAPD but for the public, because he's trapped basically, and so LAPD has to sort of anticipate what he's going to do. Again, we do believe that this person has a weapon.
Yeah, they're talking. I'm listening to them. There's cars coming out of the parking structure here. And those are the vehicles that were in the way initially. So they're trying to coordinate. See, here's a car coming out right there out of the underground parking. So they're trying to coordinate the flow of that traffic so that it kind of boxes them in, kind of funnels them into where the LAPD has the spike strip. So they might try it again. The driver knows that he's running out of time here, running out of space. So we'll see what the driver decides to do if he jumps out and runs or just runs right over those spike strips.
Yeah, the concern that he may grow more desperate and make a more desperate attempt to get away, which often puts the public at danger. And with so many people in this tight area here, again, in a sort of a loop driveway in front of a medical center and hospital here, this becomes a very tenuous situation for LAPD as they try and sort of steer the driver into yet another one of those narrow passageways where they're able to effect the successful spike strip, maybe on the other side of that car, the right side of the car. But the driver knows what's coming and is reluctant to move forward because of that.
And we see LAPD getting in position now in case he does try to run. We see the doors open on that number one cruiser there.
Turn into a barricade or a standoff situation here as the driver has space in front of him now. He knows those spikes.
Yeah, I think they were just guessing that he had a weapon with him. But this guy here, you'll see this guy here isn't running anywhere and isn't really going to be resisting much of an arrest. You'll see here.
Strips are waiting. Look at this. It's covering the entire street there, or the entire road. So he really have nowhere to go. Here he comes. He's opening the door. and he
See,
This guy here thought he was getting away with this for, I forget how many years, had to be 30 years at least. And they finally caught him the other day.
really has nowhere to go. And my fear that has been heightened over the last several minutes for the people in and around this medical center and the potential for harm to come their way, depending on the state of mind of a suspect and how desperate he may be. It looks as though surrender.
I mean, this guy can't even get out of the car.
Obviously, but you always expect the worst, particularly if you're LAPD.
And we get our first look at the suspect up close now. A man in dark colored clothing. The command's coming from LAPD to throw the keys out of the vehicle so that he can't jump back in and try to take off again. Looks like he's struggling a little bit to get out of the vehicle.
No, really?
And I don't see any canine units on the scene, but LAPD will be talking to him. It looks like he's trying to communicate with them as well, Gil.
Yeah, it looks like he is struggling to stand up. He's signaling to them, talking to the LAPD, saying that he's having some sort of difficulty getting out of the vehicle. Looks like a very large person coming out. So that's part of the problem here. They do have less lethal weapons pointed at him. It looks like he's slow moving. Maybe
he can't even stand up, right?
Handicapped in some way. Hard to tell, but he's really struggling to get out of that vehicle and unbalanced there. So hard to say what of that person. It's possible that
I don't feel bad for this guy at all. He's a real piece of shit. You'll see pretty soon here.
maybe he's under the influence of something. That's also a possibility, but he's complying. That's the good news. Really realized there was nowhere to go. And obviously in this condition, he was not able to run.
Yeah, so we anticipate a peaceful end to this. We will continue to watch this until the suspect.
So anyways, he ended up putting this guy on a stretcher because he couldn't get in the car. So they put him on a stretcher and brought him into so let me go back to this here. So this is the same guy here. And this is what
Five investigates Karen. And
this is what he's linked to down in Framingham, Massachusetts.
Anderson joins us live.
And Karen, you have covered this case for more than 3 years now. So take us through what we know about how this all happened tonight.
This 34 years ago in 1989, two women were working at a Framingham clothing store. They were attacked and raped by a man posing as.
Oh, we're so glad to have you here too, Charlotte. You're always Charlotte's awesome. Period.
As a customer. Now the suspect fled. The case went cold for decades. Then 3 years ago, 5 investigators exposed how rape kits were going untested here in Massachusetts. And the 2 survivors in the case reached out after seeing that story. They wanted to know if their kits had been tested. They pushed and they pushed and they pushed, advocating for each other, for other survivors, for their case, and for justice.
So this is the guy that we just saw getting out of the car.
Law enforcement authorities announced they had identified this suspect, Stephen Paul Gale, through forensic genetic genealogy. They shared this age progression image. They indicted him in May on rape, robbery, and kidnapping charges.
Okay, Karen, so how does LA come into all of this?
Well, the authorities knew that LA was one of his last known addresses, but family members had told police they had not seen him for years. Well, that city was definitely on their radar. I spoke with the Framingham survivors tonight.
This is kind of like Whitey Bulger. Didn't they catch him in California finally?
They tell me they were able to watch this chase unfold live. They lived the moment. of this alleged attack time. It is unbelievable. They have been so strong for more than 30 years now. Just listen to what they told us back in May.
I'm a ball of nerves. I'm anxious, I'm worried, I'm stressed out, and I'm happy all at the same time.
If he is still out there, it is possible that he can continue to do this.
It's time for his reign of terror to end.
So it appears that they can rest easy.
Finally, finally these victims get some answers, and they finally caught him all the way out in LA, and that car chase that happened, I think it was 2 days ago now. And I just thought it was another car chase in California, but it turned out to be this guy.
Tonight, for the first time in a very long time.
In a very long time, you're right. So, Karen, you have gotten to know these women, quite obviously. You have broken development after development after development in this case. So, because it's close and personal to you, when this got confirmed tonight, tell us what you were thinking.
This is about survivors' voices. This is about being strong for themselves. They always said they wanted to speak out for other survivors. So seeing the impact that they had, their powerful voices, their inspiration for others, and working with law enforcement to see this happen tonight is truly incredible.
Powerful. All right. Our Karen Anderson.
34 years ago, I still had hair. So that's awesome. They finally got this guy.
Staying on top of it always. Thank you, Karen.
I'll keep following this too, because they'll probably indict him back to Massachusetts, and hopefully he gets his day in court along with the victims. These are good things, good news, right? All right, so I'm going to go to this one here, and then I'll get out of here. This happened in Atlanta. Hold on a second here. This is another one of those arrests that have been made. Let me back this up a little bit. All right, so Melissa Wolfenberger last spoke to her family in late 1998. It wasn't until 2003 that her remains were identified. For decades, the case was unsolved, and they finally arrested somebody. This was done a couple days ago, and this is the press conference here.
Lieutenant Andrew Smith, common spelling, Atlanta Homicide Commander. Thank you for joining us today. We're here to talk about the 1999 murder of Melissa Wolfenberger.
This is her right here.
That last name is Wolfenberger. Together with us today is the mother and sister of Melissa, and we just can't express how happy we are that you're joining us today for this moment. So specifically,
yeah, it's awesome. Fuck you. It's just great. It's it's just awesome news when they catch these people, because they think that they're getting away with it, and all of a sudden they're not. It's great.
On August 6th, yesterday, we took into custody Christopher Wolfenberger, and he was charged with the murder of Melissa Wolfenberger. I'm going to give a brief timeline, and then I'm going to hand it over to Detective Shepard, who led this investigation. On April 29th, 1999, partial human remains were found at 858 Avon Avenue. Those remains were misidentified as a male from Twiggs County. June 3rd of 1999, additional human remains were found off of Hartford Avenue between Hartford.
I thought about it. It's tough to cover these things. It really is, especially, cases like the Harmony Montgomery case, some of these other kids that it's tough to cover these things. And sometimes you wonder what you're doing here, doing this stuff. But when you see stuff like this, when they finally catch some of these criminals that have been walking around for decades, and they feel like they're invincible, then you see them get caught. It's worth it.
Place and Avon Avenue. On January 2000, Melissa was reported missing by her mother in Henry County. On March 14th, Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office properly identified the remains from 858 Avon Avenue to that of Melissa Wolfenberger. On May 25th, 2021, this case was assigned to veteran homicide detective Jay Shepard, and I will pass it over to him at this point.
Good morning. My name is Detective Jarian Shepard with the Homicide Unit. I'm currently assigned to our complex cold case unit within the Homicide Unit. This case was assigned to me. I was tasked with the job of going through the entire case file. At that time, we identified the things that we needed to do, which was re-interviewing witnesses, following up on additional leads, and of course, the new technology.
This person right here, I believe this is the mom, or I forget who this is. She's been looking for answers for 20 freaking years.
Technology that comes into place. With that, I've gathered the facts, and I collaborated with the DA's office and was able to get the facts together to come up with calls to arrest Christopher Wolfenberger. Homicide Unit, our cases, they never close.
Now, again, the caveat is these people are innocent until proven guilty, but, you know.
We work the case until the leads are exhausted. We pick the case up and we're able to pass it along to the next detective, which is a cold case detective, which was me. The initial detectives did a great job on it. I was able to see the case through their eyes. I picked it up from where they left off and followed up on all the leads, but it was able to get it to this part where we are.
We have finally made it. He's in custody. And now we just need to get over the last hurdle and get him convicted. I watched the news the day that the head was found, and they said on the news that it was male. And I said, okay. And it was, give the address of Avon Avenue. And I said, I thought that was on the north side of town somewhere because I'd seen an exit off 285. And I said, well, this isn't Melissa, because I watched every newscast. If anything came on any news station about a body being found, because she'd been missing 4 years. She laid in the morgue 4 years before she was identified. And that was a long, hard 4 years. I called.
Could you imagine that? I mean, could you imagine that? It's got to be the most grueling 4 freaking years ever, man. That's got to be painful. Ugh.
Multiple. When they said it was a female, I called multiple police departments, and I would get some firm talking to at the start of those conversations and trying to find her. And when they would find out, they would eventually say, well, this isn't your daughter. Then their tones would soften. But I don't have to watch the news anymore because we got him. He's in jail. And Lord help him, he stays there.
You got to freaking love it. I mean, it's, yes, it's absolutely great. Yeah, it's a great day to be in this business too, because, you know, it's just great tools that they have these days to catch these guys.
It's been a long wait, 25 years. But finally, hopefully, we will get justice for Melissa. She didn't deserve what she got. And I hope anybody who's in a domestic violence situation, please get out. Don't take it. Because it could easily be you. It could be your sister. It could be your mother. make sure they get away. And I want to, because without them, we wouldn't be here today. Cheryl McCullum, Nancy Grace, Karen Greer, every Channel 11. Thank y'all very much. Without y'all, we wouldn't be standing here.
Questions? This question is for Detective Shepard. Can you go into a little bit more detail? I think you mentioned DNA evidence. Can you talk specifically what linked any kind of evidence to the suspect, and what do you think the motive was?
So let me start off with certain things, certain parts of the evidence. I want to protect the integrity of the case going forward, so I can't disclose certain evidence. But we look at everything when it comes to cold case, especially DNA. We look at witnesses that need to be re-interviewed, and it's a collective effort to build a cold case. So
I mean, I say all the time, just, 10, 15 years ago, the DNA, they had DNA, they had forensics and stuff that they could do work with, but not like they do now. They can take minute parts of DNA, stuff that you can't even see with the naked eye, and sift through it and find the real person who did it. And, a lot of times, it's there to help law enforcement find people that did these crimes, but at the same time, it helps exonerate people who've been in jail for a long, long, long time. There's 4 cases I've been covering. I think 2 of them, especially lately, where they've been able to exonerate people that had nothing to do with the crime and been in jail for years and years and years. So it works both ways, but it's an absolutely awesome tool to have. It's just groundbreaking, literally. These days here, if you do stuff, you're probably gonna be caught, because it's almost impossible not to leave DNA at a crime scene.
I don't want to point to any specific piece of evidence because it's important moving forward. Eventually, it will come out on how the case was put together. But right now, I want to just kind of hold that.
Any idea about a motive?
Motive not.
In my opinion, that's what happened, in some of these cases like Delphi and stuff. It's impossible for there not to be DNA there. It's just, and not just DNA, it's a lot of other forensics too. Cell phone data. Unfortunately, criminals, fortunately, actually, criminals take their phones everywhere. So they have that too.
Sure, but I'm pretty sure it's domestic violence base.
Can you talk a little bit about where he was found and where he was and his attitude when he was taken in?
Yeah, so he was captured in his home in Griffin. He hid. It took the detectives a little while to find him, and they found him, I believe, hiding behind a dryer.
What a piece of dog shit. It's just like, hiding behind a dryer. What an absolute piece of dog shit. Just these people think they got away with it. They think they can live a normal life and end up hiding behind a dryer. What a freaking piece of dog crap.
And this message is for Tina. Sorry. When you spoke to 11 Alive, you mentioned the look that this gentleman had in his face from while you guys felt he was the person responsible for a long.
From day one, we knew it was Christopher. There was never.
Yeah, I think I've got something in my history on that. I've covered. I didn't cover that, but I was going to cover the long haul trucker thing. I think that's the guy Alexander that they caught. One of the victims actually got away, but I'll have to dig through. There's only just so much I can cover in one night. But yeah, I intend on getting back into the long haul trucker thing very shortly. I got it here somewhere, but that's him. Okay. Yeah, that long haul trucker thing, that's really starting to break some barriers too here, because it's so easy for these guys. I not saying all truckers, but it's so easy for that to happen. I mean, nobody would ever suspect that. But getting the word out on that is imperative, in my opinion, because a lot of people go missing. I think there's like 800 missing people, and I know most of them are suspected to be wrapped up in that long haul trucking thing. So,
ever any doubt in our minds who did this? My mom has said, I don't know how many times, when she first met him, there was just evil in his eyes. That is so true. If you look at a picture of Charlie Manson, you see the same thing. And
he's the one, isn't he the one that tried blaming her, that she attacked him or something like that?
It's the same thing with Christopher. And I saw his mugshot earlier, and it's still there.
And Mom, you mentioned finally you guys got here. Talk about this long process, from 1998 to now, and the feeling of satisfaction that, what you knew forever is now coming to fruition.
Well, when Detective Shepard called me yesterday morning.
These truck stops are notorious for, SWs. SWs go to these truck stops because it's a quick buck. These guys obviously are lonely. They're long haul truckers. So it's easy for these guys to, once they get, the victim into the truck, it's going to be really hard to get out. And nobody's going to ever suspect that, right? It's not going to be something like, something that's suspected. So, but they're on to him now, I think. So
at 8:23 and told me that he was in custody, I yelled, "Thank you, Lord." And the good Lord above has gotten me through this from the first day into this day. If it wasn't for him, it's been a hard, long road. And like I said, she laid in the morgue 4 years before I was able to bury her. And I wasn't allowed to see her kids. His mother had custody of his kids and wouldn't let us see
Oh, that sucks. Ugh.
them. But I have a relationship with the daughter now, and it's a good relationship. She was at my house this past weekend, and we were having a discussion, but we didn't know it was going to happen this fast. And she would like to be here, but she's got 3 small babies.
Miranda Lee is still here. Hi, Miranda. Still thinking about Miranda Lee, too, and what she's going through.
One that she takes to and from school, so she couldn't be here today, even though she wanted to be.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe the last thing your daughter said to you about
my last conversation with her? She called me on Thanksgiving Day in 1998. Told me that she was back with Chris, and she wanted to know what I cooked for Thanksgiving.
That's why I think the whole system needs to be changed, because you hear about this stuff all the time. These people go back, they get, abused, they take off, and everybody says the same thing, just leave. Well, it's not that easy. The way the law is, it's just not that easy. You hear about it all the time. And sometimes leaving is the worst thing you can do, because now that enrages people even more, and the people end up unalived. It's just, things need to change. It's got to be a little bit more stringent upon, what people can do, what people can't do.
What all I cooked and who all was there, we were all sitting around the dining room table, and she wanted to come down, and she was going to ask his mother to bring her down there. And I said, you don't have to ask her. I'll come get you if you want to come. And anyway, the conversation went on a little bit longer. And my last words to her was, I love you. And you know where I am if you need me.
What do you want people to remember about Melissa?
Melissa was very loving. She would do, she loved you, you would know it, definitely. And she loved her kids. And there's no way on this earth that she would have left them. Because she wanted her kids. That's why she went back to him. That's why she kept going back to him.
In all this time, had Christopher ever reached out to you guys? Had you ever spoken, either one of you spoken to Christopher?
Never.
Never.
Never reached out?
Never. Not once.
Did she ever?
What a piece of dog shit. I mean, if he's actually the one that did this, how do you do that? I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand. It's just what an absolute horrible person to do that. Just it's aggravating.
Reveal or hint to anyone that she was in danger from him?
I can't quite hear you.
I was wondering if she ever revealed, if anybody ever had a clue that she was in danger.
She had left him in the summer of 98. And she came to the house and she stayed with me. And we got both her kids back from Kathy. And when she went into domestic violence, because he had knocked her down on the sidewalk and dragged her by her hair down the sidewalk. And when he went in front of the judge, he asked the judge to let him talk to her alone. And she went back to him.
Were you afraid then? We've been afraid for a long time. For a long time.
This question is for the detectives in this case. I was looking at some old scripts. Was he ever a suspect or taken into custody? I saw something maybe in 2003 he might have been taken in. Was he ever, well, he wasn't charged, but
it's all a part of control. You know, these bastards are just controlling freaking pieces of dog shit. They just feel like, you know, they're part of their property. And if they're not with them, then they're not going to be with anybody. It's just a horrible cycle. It's just whenever you find yourself in a controlled situation, get the hell out of it if you can. That's just my opinion.
Talk a little bit about that, and if he was questioned, why he was released then.
So he was. We all have what we call person of interest, and we don't like, as detectives, we let the evidence guide us in the direction that we need to go. And at that time, the detectives felt the need to interview him, but he was a person of interest from the beginning.
What next for the charges? What can you face? When anything updates on that?
So, you know, honestly, that's why I'm here doing this shit. People who don't have the ability to defend themselves. It's domestic violence is one of those, you know, because a lot of people just think domestic violence is a, you know, a physical thing, but a lot of times it's more emotional and more control, like a control thing than anything else. It's just not right. It's just not, you know, a lot of time it is physical, but you know, some of these women can't get, it's just impossible for them to get away with it, from it. It's just, you know, just the system needs changing. It needs to be restructured, redone, because it's not working the way it is.
So he's been charged with murder. He's currently in Fulton County, and we go into the next phase, which is the district attorney's office and, of course, the court proceedings. So at this point, it's going to be in that phase.
The thing that sucks is now these people have to go through, you know, probably 2 years of pretrial motions and defense motions and all of that shit. And then they got to go through a trial, which is probably another, you know, 2 months. And at the end of the day, it comes down to 12 jurors, you know, and they could, you never know how they're going to say, you know, It's just a grueling road ahead. But at least they made an arrest. You know, that's the important thing.
I do have one last question for the mom there. Your shirt that you're wearing, was this a shirt that you had made when she first disappeared, or is this a...
Yes, sir. It was. It was the first shirt I had made, and Fulton County had a deck of cards that was made also. And she was the king of diamonds, and this was on the card. And those cards were delivered to the jails in the prison system in hopes to get more information. But this is the first shirt I had made. And that's the second shirt.
Oh my God, that sucks so bad, FARQ. Oh, that's awful. Oh, that's awful. Oh, you poor thing. Ugh. That sucks, FARQ. I feel bad. It's terrible.
All right, thank you, everyone.
All right, so I just want to play this one thing because they never really talk about the victim at all in these things. It's so sad. So this is her here.
Tonight at 6, more than 20 years after she was last seen alive, police have finally made an arrest in the murder of an Atlanta woman. Last time that Melissa Wolfenbarger spoke to her.
Look at this. Just what a beautiful woman. It's just so freaking sad. It's just absolutely horrible. Wolfenbarger.
Her family was back in 1998, but it wasn't until 2003 that they learned her body had been in a morgue the whole time that they were looking for her. The discovery prompted a decades-long fight for justice. 11 Alive's Bobeth Yates was there to.
You know, you can tell, you know, pictures don't always tell the real story, you know, because they look really happy here, right?
The discovery prompted a decades-long fight for justice. 11 Alive's Bobeth Yates was there today as Atlanta police announced the arrest of Wolfenbarger's husband. She joins us live outside the Fulton County Jail tonight. So, Bobeth, how is the family reacting to the news tonight?
Oh, my God.
Well, it was bittersweet for the family. Of course, they were emotional because the arrest opened up some of the old wounds. But on the other hand, they say they're
one of the worst in Australia. Didn't find her for 3 weeks. Oh, that's so awful. Oh, that's horrible.
celebrating this arrest.
We got him. He's in jail.
Norma Patton.
Let me know if you need a wrench or want a wrench, FARQ. Oh, that's terrible.
Is the mother of Melissa Wolfenbarger, the 21-year-old who disappeared in 1998. Portions of Melissa's remains were discovered in 1999 at two separate locations, but were misidentified as belonging to another person. In 2003, the remains were properly identified, still with a little.
Lieutenant Andrews.
25 years later, Atlanta police reopened the case, and Wednesday they held a news conference announcing the arrest of Melissa's husband, Christopher Wolfenbarger.
I was tasked with the job of going through the entire case file. At that time, we identified
There's, in my opinion, this guy is guilty, and there is no such thing as a proper punishment for this guy at all.
things that we needed to do, which was re-interviewing witnesses, following up on additional leads,
10
and
years?
of course the new technology that comes into place. I collaborated with the DA's office and was able to get the facts together to come up with the probable cause to arrest Christopher Wolfenbarger.
APD would not discuss what linked.
You only got 10 years? Ugh. You're in Australia? I didn't know you were in Australia. Oh, that's horrible. 10 years. Ugh.
Christopher to Melissa's death, but her family hopes the arrest brings closure.
It's been a long wait, 25 years. But finally, hopefully, we will get justice for Melissa. She didn't deserve what she got. And I hope anybody who's in a domestic violence situation, please get out.
Now again, Whippenbarger has been arrested and been charged with murder. He's here at the Fulton County Jail. No word yet on when he will make his first appearance in court. Live at Fulton County Jail, Bobeth Yates, 11 Alive News.
Okay, Bobeth, thank you. By the way,
So I'll cover this, as much as I possibly can. They'll probably put a gag order on this. They always do. But I'm going to get out of here. I just feel bad for FAR-Q here. That's so awful. Ugh. Stuff like that makes me pretty angry. It's just sad. The good news about this here is he'll probably do something else. And that's bad news, actually, but these people can't stay out of prison. So the animal will probably be back in at some point. I feel awful about that. That's terrible. Sorry, FAR-Q. That's terrible. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for coming in. I know it's not easy being up this late. Thank you, Miranda Lee, for coming in. Thank you, FAR-Q. I feel bad about that. That sucks. Heather Brown, it's always good to see you here. You're awesome. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being part of the chat. Everybody, Necessarily Evil, Honeybee, Dean Johnson was here. Dean Johnson's awesome. Necessarily Evil's awesome too. Who else was in here? Lighting the Way Home was in here. She's awesome. I'm trying to scroll up here. If I miss anybody, I'm sorry. Charlotte is great. Charlotte is a wonderful person. Thank you, Charlotte, for coming in. Who else was in here? Shout out to Farmer too. I mentioned him earlier in the chat. He's going through a pretty rough time right now. He's a good guy. I like Farmer a lot. He's pretty down to earth person. He's dealing with a lot of shit right now. So isn't Southern Gal. Southern Gal's great. Obviously, if you're not, part of her chat now, please go join her. She's a great person. Who else is in here? But let me know if you want to wrench FAR-Q. You don't have to do anything with your wrench, but if you have channels you want to post, or if you have a channel, that's why I give people wrenches. You don't really have to do anything. Honeybee is awesome. Honeybee's a great person. She has an awesome channel. Check her out. Well, don't check her out. Check out the channel. It's dumbass. Check her out. Yeah, okay. Who else was in here? I think that's it, but that's good enough. Miranda Lee stayed up just for us. And I'll probably come out with some of that long haul trucker stuff next week, if nothing else. I try to keep current with current things. I'd like to get back into some of the deep dives too. But all right, that's it for me. I'm going to stop babbling. I want everybody to have a good week, great weekend. Everybody stay safe. And that's it. I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good weekend. Thank you very much. And for all those people who are on replay, thank you very much for supporting the channel. You guys, thank you, FAR-Q. Everybody have a safe weekend. Thank you. Take care.